Morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I am the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I'd like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. Today's webinar is part 3 of a 5-part series of webinars that we do on BNI Connect. And we started out this series a couple of days ago with basically how to log into BNI Connect and how to set up your profile and the importance of that. Yesterday, we started to go into the online referral system. So how to pass referrals, how to track your thank you for closed business and all your one-to-ones and all of that wonderful stuff. We did that yesterday. Today, what we're going to go over is we're going to look at kind of the social media aspect of BNI Connect. You know, that kind of LinkedIn style functions that are here in the system. How do we connect with other people? How do we find resources in BNI around the world? And then how do we utilize those? We can also do testimonials within BNI Connect and really get to know people on a deeper level using the discussion groups. We're going to take a couple of days off, and then starting next week on Monday, we're going to take a deep dive into BNI Connect. So we're going to go and we're going to look at what kind of reports are available and what kind of statistics can we get and what other kind of tools are there for us to use on a weekly basis. And then we're going to complete the series on Tuesday of next week with the visitor aspect of BNI Connect. Both how can we invite visitors, how can we register them, how can we really make the most of how BNI Connect can help us with visitors. So that's the topic for today. I am going to very quickly, just a couple of housekeeping things. Firstly, if you're with me today, it is February 9th at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. If you're here today, you are live on this webinar, so you can ask questions. That's the added bonus of being on these webinars live. Besides the fact that you can't fast forward through the boring parts, you can ask questions. So please type those questions in the questions panel, and I love to see those on the screen, and I'll be able to answer them. Jacqueline just said, yay, and thank you for being here again, Jacqueline. I love looking at the list of people on the webinar and seeing repeat people back for parts of the whole series, so thanks again for being here today. If you are listening to a recording and you haven't skipped over this part, then you might have some questions after you're all done. Feel free to email those to support@bniconnect.com, and we'll be happy to help you out. You can find the recordings later on in a couple of different places. You can find them on our support site. So if you go to support.bniconnect.com or go to the, oh, hold on a second. Ellen just said, is there a visual? I just have the audio. Yes, I believe I'm sharing my screen. At least it shows that I'm sharing monitor 2 here, which let me click around a couple of places here. You should see my BNI Connect screen here. Okay, Holly can see me. Ellen, you may need to reconnect. Okay, good. Jacqueline says, click on the screen thingy under the microphone. So Holly says, I'm sorry, Ellen says that it is showing up now. So excellent. Thank you, everybody. All right, so again, you can find the recordings on our YouTube channel as well, youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. All right, so let's take a look at the kind of the social media aspect of BNI Connect. And this part's a little bit exciting to me because I told a little bit of the story the other day, but when I first joined BNI, way back in 2002, the only thing I knew about BNI was my chapter. That was it. It was that was the only resource I had available to me was the 20 people that I met with on a weekly basis. And that's great. That's where our strongest relationships are going to be, is with those other people in the chapter. However, BNI is global. It is around the world. It's everywhere. 70 different countries around the world have BNI chapters in it, which means that we have this awesome ability to reach out to people around the world. And one of the great things about my my relationship and my position with BNI is I get to go around the world and teach people about BNI Connect. And a couple of years ago, I was in Amsterdam, right outside Amsterdam in The Hague, and I went to a BNI meeting that morning, and it was pretty cool. The thing though is that in Holland, in the Netherlands, they don't really speak English; they speak Dutch. And if you've ever listened to Dutch, it is not really anything at all like English. I can pick out some words in Spanish, maybe a word here and there in French. In Dutch, nothing at all. But when I was sitting at this meeting, I could tell looking around the room, who was prepared for their 60-second presentation. I could tell that they were excited to be there each week. I could tell that, people were excited to get referrals and give referrals. There was a membership committee meeting, after the meeting. There's 210,000 people around the world right now doing what we do every single week at their chapter meetings and building credibility. We have a much higher level of accountability here in BNI than just finding somebody randomly on Google or Craigslist or Angie's List or Yelp or any of these other places that try to recreate what we do with our membership committee on a local level. So that's what I want to talk about today, is how can we find some people in BNI when we're looking for services. Now, before I do that, a big part of this is making sure that your profile is updated. I'm not going to spend much time on this, literally about 90 seconds, but if you haven't done it yet, you really need to update your profile before you start, making yourself available to the world. Very easy to do. Right on the home screen after logging into BNI Connect, you should see a link here. It says Update Profile, My BNI Page. If you're clicking around in BNI Connect and you get lost, you can always click on Options, My Account in the upper right-hand corner. That will take you to your profile. There's no great secret about how to fill out your profile. All you do is go through each one of these tabs and fill in all the blanks. That's kind of the Reader's Digest version of it. So there's all these tabs along the top. Just go through, fill them out, and input all the information that's here. So I just want to highlight very quickly really two things or three things on this particular profile. Number one, keywords, very important. When we're searching for people, when we're using this networking side of BNI Connect, we're searching a database. It's not quite as sophisticated as a Google search. We are searching against names and professions and company names and address locations. So if somebody does a search for computer or they do a search for computer services, they're going to find me. But I need to supplement that with other keywords. So for example, you can see I have computers in here because if they do a search for computers, they wouldn't find me just based on my industry. It's a very literal database search. So supplement that. Make sure you have your keywords in there. Second thing, make sure you have a picture uploaded. That is a very important part of it. As people find you, that is an instant credibility killer, not having a picture up there. And finally, go to the settings with the gear on it. This is your member-to-member setting. So that means that as we're working through this kind of social media part of BNI Connect, this is going to determine what you're sharing with other people here in the system. And it's very important that up here, this is really what parts of your profile are you willing to share right away? In other words, with everybody, as soon as they find your profile, will you allow them to see your bio, your connections, your testimonials, your picture gallery, your email address, and your contact details? If that's too much, you can switch that down and say, well, you know what? Maybe I only want to show it after I'm connected with somebody. Or you can say, you know what, I never, ever, ever want to share this information. And there may be some industries, such as financial advisors, where just by policy, you're not allowed to even receive testimonials. So you might have to switch that to none. Now, my number one recommendation to you, if you want to get random referrals from people around the world when they find your profile, make sure that you are sharing your contact details and preferably your email address. The reason for that is people are often looking for a service when they are in need of a service. So that means that they're not going to wait until you accept their connection request before getting in touch with you. They want to be able to call you. They want to be able to email you right away to see if you're interested in that referral. So I highly recommend, at the very least, sharing your contact details with everyone, with the all. And if you scroll down, you can also turn on various alerting that will go to your regular email address as opposed to staying in BNI Connect. All right, enough about that. Let's take a look at the actual social media components here, the networking side of BNI Connect. So this is our home screen. Now, in order to get to the networking components, what we're going to do is, you see this little kind of flag over here on the left-hand side? It's highlighting My BNI Business right now. If I click on My Network, that's going to take me to the networking side of BNI Connect. This actually used to be the home page of BNI Connect before we had the ability to do all the referrals online. But here's the different, I guess, the social networking side of things. So you can see here it's broken into 6 different tiles. We have connections. Now connections, you're going to start out being connected to everybody in your chapter. All right, so don't let that fool you, though. It's not limited to just the people in your chapter. Those connections will be managed for you automatically. So, as new people come into your chapter, they'll be automatically added to your connections. As people leave your chapter, they'll be automatically removed from your connections. But you can connect with any other BNI member around the world, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. The groups are the place where we can have discussions. We can talk with other BNI members around the world. There's over I think about 500 or so active groups in BNI Connect. And the cool thing is, if anybody's ever used LinkedIn or Yahoo or any of these other places that have groups, they tend to get stale. People start a topic and then they abandon it, and they don't get back to it for a while. So in BNI Connect, we make sure that if a group is inactive for more than 90 days, so no comments have been made or anything else, we'll send out a warning, but then we're going to shut it down. So all of the groups in BNI Connect are active groups. They're active discussions that continue to happen. And again, there's some great topics. This is how you get to meet people and know people. The documents section here. Now, this is a regionally specific thing. Each region, your executive director, your director team, they can share local documents through this tool. So it's a way for them to, let's say you need a visitor sign-in sheet that you use to sign visitors in at your meeting, or sometimes the membership committee control letters, or any of the things that your region wants to share, they can put in there. Now, you can't upload anything in there, but if you're looking for certain things, like if you're the education coordinator of the chapter and you need the education coordinator handbook, that might be in those documents. Again, this is handled by your regional office, so if you're missing something from there, give your director consultant a call or your executive director, and they can definitely help you out with that. Going down to the bottom row, we have our testimonials. The testimonials are, people can say something nice about you, and you can say nice things about other people. Great way to help build credibility here in BNI by, you have an experience with somebody, say something nice about them. This puts it on their profile, and it allows other people to share in that experience. The events. This will be a list of events that are happening in your area. So, for example, member success programs or open houses or business after hours, things that your region might be sponsoring. Again, this is going to be things that are nearby you in your particular region. Keep in mind that you can register for them here as well, so you can go into the events and click on any of the events. And you can click to register yourself for those after it shows the details here. So you can register for those events. Now, this is the exact same thing as if you go to your regional website and you go to your events calendar. This is a way to look at it in a calendar view to see all of the events that are happening. But you can also do that, again, through this events interface here on the networking page. And finally, we have a messaging system. There is an internal messaging system here in BNI Connect that allows you to send messages with your connections. Now, to be completely upfront and honest with you, I usually don't recommend this feature a whole lot, and that's because until people turn on alerting, basically getting those messages forwarded to their regular email, it is an internal messaging system, so people have to log into BNI Connect in order to get those messages. Someday we do hope to have some better alerting functionality, especially with the upcoming mobile app that we're expecting in a couple of months. Maybe we'll have more opportunity to do more with that function. But just keep in mind, some people try to use that as a email my chapter type thing, and they get very disappointed when half of the chapter hasn't read the messages because they haven't logged into BNI Connect to read them. But that said, it does function. So let's take a look at some of these. I want to go in depth with a couple of these, most specifically the connections, the testimonials, and the groups. So let's take a look at the connections first. If I go into the connections, I go to Manage. Essentially what the connections are, it's your BNI address book. So this isn't meant to be, I want to connect with every single person in BNI around the world and collect them like you're collecting trading cards. That's not really the idea behind this. The idea behind this is really your personal address book of people that you've made contact with and want to continue to have discussions and a relationship with. So we'll put them in here once you connect with somebody, and when you click on their name, for example, you'll get a kind of abbreviated version of their profile. You can always, of course, click on their picture or click on View Profile, and that will take you out to see their full profile. All right, so this is Carrie's full profile here. So you can go and review all of his details if you wanted to. Again, as well as his testimonials and his bio and his connections and his photo library and his groups and his trainings and everything there. Some other things that you can do here is you can send him a message. Again, that's one of those internal messages. If you wanted to send him an email, you can just click on his email here, and that should open up your email program and start a new email. Oh, that popped up on my other screen. I can also ask Carrie for a testimonial. I could give Carrie a testimonial. Again, I can go view his full profile, or I can remove him from my connections. Now, again, remember that your connections with your chapter are managed by BNI Connect. So that means that you can't remove the people that are in your chapter from your connections. That option, delete that person from your connections, will not be available for the people that are in your chapter. So how do you get connections anyway? How do you, if you wanted to connect with somebody, how would you do that? Well, a couple of different ways. Up here, you can see a button that says Add Connection. Once I'm in my connections here, I can click on Add Connection. Or if I'm anywhere in the computer, anywhere in in BNI Connect anyway, I can click this magnifying glass up in the upper right-hand corner. This magnifying glass is, really, it's the global directory search. This is the yellow pages of BNI globally. You can look for anything in BNI around the world. So just as an example, I can look for a plumber in Pittsburgh. It probably would help if I chose a city that was easier to spell, but I could look for a plumber in Pittsburgh. And this is going to comb the entire database, and it's going to come up with some matches. So I can see here that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plumbers in Pittsburgh. So if my Aunt Petunia calls me and says, hey, I've got a leak and I don't know who to call, do you know anybody in Pittsburgh? I can go and look in BNI Connect and find somebody in Pittsburgh. I can tell you that when one of my clients, they have an office in Florida. I'm in Rhode Island. That's a couple thousand miles away. When they needed to move their office, instead of fly down there, what I did was I came to BNI Connect and I went to, computer in Florida. And this gave me a bunch of people in Florida. Now, I also was able to narrow that down. Note that up here, there's a refine button. So you can do kind of a quick filtering search against your results. For example, I can do, let's say, Sarasota. And this will start filtering out all people that have Sarasota in the list. If I click on somebody's name, it would then bring me up their profile. I could then read all about them. Again, Dave here is sharing his information. So if I wanted to give Dave a call, I could give Dave a call immediately. I could send him an email. I could say, hey, Dave, I got a referral for you. Want to help me move a client of mine down there? And I could pass that job along to him. If I want him to become a permanent connection, basically I want to be connected with him, I can click this button, add Dave to my connections. This would send him a connection request. Connections are an opt-in function. So people do need to accept those connections before they are connected with you. This did open in another tab, as you can see, so I can close this tab and go back to my original results. Now the other thing is that there is this advanced search option up here as well. And this is really helpful, especially if you're searching on a very common term, that it allows you to really narrow that focus down a little bit. So, let's say that my search for plumbers in Pittsburgh didn't return enough results, but I wanted plumbers in all of Pennsylvania. And I want to make sure that PA isn't picked up somewhere else in the profile, like for public adjuster or something like that. So I could even just search by a certain industry. So I could choose trades, for example, which is the plumbers in Pennsylvania. And maybe I want to make sure they have a keyword of plumber. So this allows you to kind of whittle those down a little bit. And now you can see there's 250 entries for plumbers in all of Pennsylvania. So somebody might not have been in Pittsburgh or been in a chapter in Pittsburgh, but they might be in some of the neighboring cities and places as well. The other thing is you'll notice that this is limited to 250 results. This is done intentionally to make sure that we, nobody's, basically combing the database to, just collect email addresses or something like that. We do have a 250 character limit. Now, one other cool thing, and this is kind of like a little aside, is that you can search for email addresses as well, which is kind of cool. If anybody's in a bigger business, let's say Edward Jones or Mary Kay or one of these other, maybe you want to find out how many of your colleagues are in BNI Connect, right? So I know we have Lonnie Meisner here from BNI in California, actually Dr. Meisner's sister. She's been involved for 30 years, but let's say that Lonnie wanted to find other people in BNI that are listed in BNI Connect. She could do that just by doing @bni.com, and this will return up to 250 people in here that have an @bni.com email address. And from here, we can always go in and, as with anybody else, we can review their profile, get their phone number if they're sharing their phone number, or read the rest of their profile. All right, so that's how you find people. And again, if you send them a connection request, that is how you can then get connected to them. Now, feel free to send me a connection request. I love connecting with people. Just do a search for me, Jeremy Walsh. You can always just search by name. That's the easiest way to search here in BNI Connect is by name. Make sure you go with the real one, not the fake one here. Now, once you start getting connection requests, go to Network Connections or go back to your network page, go to Manage Connections. And to accept them, you'll see back in your connections down here, you have a Received Requests function. And if I click on Received Requests, this will be all of the people that have sent me a connection request. Now, if you're not sure who the person is, you can always click on their name. That will open up a window, a new window here, and you can go and basically remember where did you know them from. Review their profile if you'd like to, or any of their other information. You can see if they sent a personal message as well by clicking on Read Message. And if you're reading the message, you can choose Accept, Ignore, or Reject. Accept, obviously, will accept it. Reject will kick it back to them. Be careful with Ignore. Ignore will hide this request and never allow them to send you another one. So be very careful with that one. Make sure you never, ever, ever, ever want to be connected with that person if you choose Ignore Request. I'm going to go ahead and accept Rodney's request here. And it looks like I got a new one just now from Holly. Note that if you have your notification requests turned on, you'll also get an email about that. You can see here that I do have a an email that just came through here from BNI Connect saying, I've received a new connection request from Holly. Holly sent a note, I'd like to add you to my connections. And you can see Holly is here. Now, if you have multiple connection requests like I do here, I can choose select all or select certain ones and choose connect to selected. And I should see my connections go from 557 to 560 in a second. And there they are. Hey, there's Jacqueline. Jacqueline, thank you for sending me the reminder. I'll go ahead and accept that one now as well. All right, and that's all there is to it as far as the connections go. You can also, of course, do testimonials, and the testimonials, it's a pretty fairly simple thing. You can give somebody a testimonial by going to their connection and giving that person a testimonial. It's really just typing a testimonial into the box here and clicking submit. That's all there is to it. You can manage your testimonials by going to Network Testimonials or back on the testimonial screen, click on Manage, or if you're in Connections, you can toggle over to the testimonial screen here, and you can review all the testimonials that people have given you over the years, and you can also review all of the testimonials that you've given to other people over the years. You can choose to also delete that testimonial, or you can choose to hide it. The one thing to keep in mind is that you can only have one testimonial per person. You are limited to one testimonial per person. So if you do want to update your testimonial to somebody or give them a different one, you have to ask them to remove the one that you gave them before. And to give somebody a testimonial, Jacqueline, yes, you do have to be connected to them. So you must be connected to the person in order to give them a testimonial. All right, and really that's it. That's the testimonials and the connections. So we have a couple of minutes till the bottom of the hour. I want to make sure I'm respectful of your time and close the content portion before we open it up for questions. So the groups. The groups are the way that we can really, start to form relationships with people around the world, even if we're not connected with them. So that's the thing about the groups, is you don't have to be connected to people to have a conversation with them. So if you go to the groups here, it'll show you the groups that you're a part of. If you go to Manage, this will bring you into all of the groups. And we can see here, we have 451 groups currently. Now that number may appear different to you because I can see all the hidden groups as well, where there are some hidden and member-only groups. But you can see, there's groups on everything. So we have one here for BNI photographers. We have one, this one has 360 photographers from around the world participating in this group with 405 posts. Very active group. The From the Founder group, that has 4,000 participants. That means that when you make a comment in that group, 4,000 people have visibility to that. That's a huge amount of visibility. We have the A-Team group, we have the BNI Motorcyclists group, the social media. You can go through page by page by page by page at 5 or 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups per page. Yeah, that's going to take you about 90 pages to go through all of that. You can also do a search here. And for example, let's say I want to see all of the groups that have been created by Dr. Meisner. So I'm going to go by Creator Meisner. I can see here we have the From the Founder group, the Why BNI group, and the BNI Foundation group by his wife, Beth Meisner. If you want to participate or take a look at the group, you can click on the group name, for example. And you can see all of the topics here. So you could take a look, for example, the new SuccessNet. SuccessNet is now part of BNI.com. But you can also go and check that out. You could post a message in here if you wanted to by clicking Post a Message and become a part of the discussion. Once you start discussing with people, all of these people have hyperlinks to their profiles. You could always connect with them and start building relationships that way as well. Now, within the groups, you can also create your own groups. You can create and manage up to 7 of your own groups. Now, I do not recommend creating 7 groups. Again, as I said before, they have to remain active. You have to participate in each and every one of them. Otherwise, they will be deleted. So you can create a group, maybe 2 groups, but try to avoid creating too many. All right, so we are at the bottom of the hour. What I'd like to do is now open this up for questions. If anybody has any questions whatsoever, please type those in now, and I'd be happy to answer those questions. While you're typing in any questions, I just want to remind you that a good referral for me is to please, if you enjoy these webinars, let your other chapter members know about these webinars. I'd love to have even more participation on the webinars. Our upcoming webinars is going to be tomorrow. We have the Member Tools and Reports not tomorrow, I'm sorry, Monday is the Tools and Reports webinar. On Tuesday, we're going to be going through the Visitors section. Mary says, have to run. See you next week. I'll see you next week, Mary. Thank you for being on all of these webinars so far. All right, so if there's no other questions, again, thank you guys so much for investing some time in your BNI experience and for being with us here today. I will have the recording up just as soon as I can. I'm hoping to get these 3 recordings up tomorrow during the day. So in the meantime, have an absolutely wonderful weekend, and I look forward to seeing your names appear in the list on a future webinar. Happy connecting.